Hello, and welcome to day 3 of the Advent of Cyber by Try Hack Me. We're still in the web exploitation section, and our task for today is Christmas Blackout. So, Grinch Enterprises has also tried to block communication between anyone at the company. They've locked everyone out of their email systems, and McSystem Admin has also lost access to their admin panel. Can you find the admin panel and help restore communication for the Best Festival Company? So, our learning objectives for this challenge is we're going to use our investigative skills and discover unlisted content. And we're going to do that through content discovery. So, content, as it states on the page, is assets and inner workings of the application that we are testing. It can be files, folders, or pathways that are not intended to be accessed by the general public. So, for example, here's a blog here, Santa's Cookies.thm for Try Hack Me WP login, which specifies as WordPress. And here we see that we can see folders. So we can see dog pictures, hello, and passwords.txt. You would not want your passwords to be accessible by anyone online. And the reason why this is the case is because this web server was not configured to be internal only. It's accessible to everyone on the internet as long as they can get to that URL. So, content discovery is a useful technique to find configuration files, passwords and secrets, backups, content management systems, and administrator dashboards or portals. And so here's an example here of a word list, and in Linux we're using the cat command to open that file, and we have some directories such as admin, docs, config, install, and install English. Now, what can we use for content browsing? Well, there's an assortment of tools. The tools that they have listed for this challenge is Dirbuster. And this is a tool that automates the content browsing or force browsing for us. And how it works is we provide a word list and a URL, and then the tool will try to force browse or find accessible directories or files that we can access. So as I said here's our word list. Next, we're going to use Dirb for Dirbuster. We're going to pass in the URL as the parameter. In this case is Santa's Cookies.thm, and we're going to pass in the word list, which is the my word list.txt, which is different from, I thought it was the same, but it's different. And so it's saying if you're unfamiliar with a full path, here's another room you can check out, Linux Fundamentals. And once that command is executed, we see that Dirb will search for an existence of a directory. And as you can see, Dirb comes with its own word list. Big, Catalia, common, so common directories, Euskria, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Extensions common, so common extensions. Indexes, mutations common, so common mutations. Other, small, Spanish, stress, and vones. So big is like, as you can imagine, a whole big word list of common directories. Small is a small subset of that, and common is common directories that you will probably see in day-to-day. Also, there's another open source word list as seclist that's also on GitHub, and let's just go there very quickly. And as you can see, there is other word lists such as usernames, passwords, fuzzing, discovery, So this is also good, also a good place if you're using a word list and you're not getting a lot of bytes. Try changing your word list. It might be too small, and you need to use a word list that's bigger. So let's say we have found, in this case, an administrative portal or admin portal. Well, depending on if things aren't configured properly, it will have a default credentials, meaning default username and password. So whenever you have a website, and for instance, if you're using like a content management system or what have you, a service, it comes with default credentials, and that's what you need to log into the system for the first time. Now, a rule of thumb is after you have logged in with the default credentials the first time, you need to change the password for that user, create new users, and things of that nature. Because if you don't, and you keep it as the default credentials, well, as a hacker, or in this case, the Grinch, I can use this to access your portals, access your admin portals or sites, and do nefarious things. So we have a few passwords such as administrator, password 123, and let me in. Now, there's also default credentials as seclist, and I'm going to click that here, and there's an assortment. We can see there's default passwords, .text, and a CSV, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, Telnet. It's the full gamut. And it says sometimes these credentials are stored in the web application configuration files or public documentation. So for instance, this application, Bike It, is an open source application for registering your bicycle to a community page. The admin is enabled by default with credentials provided in both the documentation and source code. Meaning you can, if you know the open source application in this case, you can go to Google and type that in, and depending on the documentation, it might say, hey, this is the default password, right? And it lists it here. So the username is administrator and the password is password 123. And so the source code also shows that too. Administrator, and the password is let me in 123. And there's a comment and it says change this, right? Because you don't want to leave the default password, because then any and everyone could log in. So now we're going to do a bit of content discovery on our own. So let's start the machine. And we gotta wait a little bit for our IP address to show. Okay, now we have our IP address, 10.10.791. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to open a new tab. And remember, we want to use derb, right? So we're going to say derb or derbuster. And I'm going to say HTTP. And I'm going to paste in our IP, 10.10.791. And I'm going to press enter. So let me try it again. Maybe it wasn't all the way together. Okay, now that worked. So sometimes with working with Try Hack Me, you need to give it a minute or two for the virtual machine to be fully up. As you can see, I tried to force it, and Durbuster errored out because it couldn't connect. So then I did it again, and it's working. So, but you notice I only put in the IP address, and the word list is user shared derb word list common. So Durbuster by default automatically uses the common word list when you just supply an IP address. And as you can see, it's testing now to find any directories that we can hit. We have something, directory admin. So let's go back to our challenge, and the first is use a common word list. So that's what we did for discovering content. Enumerate 10.10.791, which is our IP address, to find the location of the admin administrator dashboard. What is the name of the folder? We'll go in here. We see admin. So let's type in admin and press submit. Great. In your web browser, try some default credentials on the newly discovered login for the administrator user. What is the password? So now let's go to admin. And now we're at the admin login. So let's try user administrator and password administrator. And as you can see, we have successfully logged in. So that was the password administrator. So it was a default username and password of administrator. And when you're presented with the login screen, try admin first, because as you can see, you have more luck than not, and you'll be surprised how much luck you will have with that. Now we have logged in, and we're logged in as the admin, and we need to find the value of the flag. And going back to the web page, well, we see it here. Admin access. And we have solved the challenges for day 3. So this was a quick challenge, but we learned a lot with content discovery and how it's used to find directories. And as you can see, we found that at the admin directory, there's another assets. So again, this is good when you want to look for content that is not linked, but is also publicly accessible on the internet. So we did that, went to the admin directory, saw a username and password, tried the username and password of both administrator. We was able to get in, and we saw the flag at the bottom, which was try hack me admin access. And finally, just to say, when you're presented with the login, try to find default credentials. I don't know how many times I have done penetration tests and things have not been configured properly and default passwords have been enabled. And depending if it's an administrator, then you can essentially you have the keys to the kingdom, and you can do whatever you want inside of the site. So when you have a login, just try the default credentials. You'll be really surprised how that works most of the time. So I hope you, finally, if you want to know more, there are 2 rooms: content discovery and authentication bypass. With these, you need to have access to Try Hack Me subscription service, and then you'll be able to do those rooms if you want to learn more and or apply your knowledge in content discovery and authentication bypass. So I hope you have learned quite a bit in this video for day 3's challenge, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow for day 4. Have a good day. Bye.